Hello, my name is Diana Anderson, and I want to welcome you to this year's series of Military Family Appreciation Month presentations, hosted by the Delaware Department of Justice's Consumer Protection Unit. I am a paralegal in that unit and a veteran of the United States Air Force. Here with us is our very own Deputy Attorney General Brian Ng, who will give us a high-level overview of the Consumer Mediation Unit and will highlight the work they do with respect to the Delaware statutory housing programs, which helps homeowners resolve disputes with mortgage servicers, common interest communities, and manufactured housing communities. Brian is the Delaware Department of Justice's Manufactured Housing Ombudsperson and the head of the Consumer Mediation Unit. Prior to joining the DOJ in 2019, Brian served as the managing attorney for the Disabilities Law Program at the Community Legal Aid Society, with a practice focused on disability rights in manufactured housing. He is a graduate of the Widener University Delaware Law School and the University of Delaware. Thanks for joining us today, Brian. Take it away.
Diana, thank you for the introduction. Very, very happy to be here today. So I'm going to go and share my slides. So I'm not sure that you're going to be able to see me anymore, but rest assured, I have not gone anywhere. All right, so as Diana said, I am Brian Ng, and this is an introduction to the housing programs of the Consumer Mediation Unit. So here's just an overall agenda of what I want to talk about today. I know it sounds like a lot, but it's okay. I do talk fast. So first things first, lawyer stuff. This presentation is just to provide general information and education. No parts of this should be considered legal advice to any person on any particular set of circumstances. If you are in a situation where you think you need legal advice, I recommend you consult with an attorney. So the Delaware Department of Justice is big. And so what I'd like to do initially is just give you a brief rundown of sort of how we're organized so that you can see where the Consumer Mediation Unit falls within the overall organization. So there are 6 divisions. The first one's the Administration Division. These are the people who keep the lights on, so IT, HR, all that kind of stuff. Not something that the public generally is going to deal with because they're the ones who sort of make it so the rest of us who can do what we do. There's the Criminal Division. They, unsurprisingly, deal with criminal law. The Civil Division, they are responsible for representing the myriad of state agencies. The Family Division, amazingly enough, deals with family law matters and with kids. The Division of Civil Rights and Public Trust deals with civil rights and public trust, and that's things like public corruption. And then lastly, where we live is the Fraud and Consumer Protection Division. So within the Fraud and Consumer Protection Division, there are 5 units plus 1 office. The Office of Impact Litigation deals with some of the big multi-state sort of things you may see on the news. The White Collar Crime Unit does what it says on the tin. The Investor Protection Unit enforces laws, well, for the protection of investors. The Medicaid Fraud Control Unit deals with Medicaid. The Consumer Protection Unit deals with laws protecting consumers. And then there's us, the Consumer Mediation Unit. The Consumer Mediation Unit does 2 main things, one of which I'm focusing on today. So the one that I'm not focusing on is consumer complaints. Anytime we get a consumer complaint, we get between 3,000 and 4,000 a year. It comes to our unit first, and we have a process where we try and help consumers to resolve those complaints. And that's something I'd be happy to speak about another time. But today I'm here to talk about our housing programs. There are 4 of them. The first one is the Office of Foreclosure Prevention, then the Residential Mortgage Mediation Program, the Office of the Common Interest Community Ombudsperson, and then the Office of the Manufactured Housing Ombudsperson. And so we're just going to go through each one of those. Residential Mortgage Mediation Program is part of the foreclosure process through the Superior Court. This is not something you go and apply for or try and get into. It's part of the process. It's only for owner-occupied homes, and the goal of this is to try and find a way that a home that is in foreclosure that there's going to be some sort of a resolution that both sides can live with so that the foreclosure case does not have to proceed to its end. If the house you live in is being foreclosed upon, you will automatically be referred into the program if you're eligible. You don't have to do anything. When you get those initial documents from the Superior Court, there will be information about the program in it already. So this is a service that we provide technically through the Superior Court, and it helps a lot of people. It helps a lot of people stay in their homes, and in the situations where people can't stay in their homes, it does help people get to their next step in a way that is more positive than a foreclosure would be. But before we get there, we have the Office of Foreclosure Prevention, and they do a few different things. One big thing is they educate homeowners on their rights. So if your home is at risk of foreclosure, if you're getting behind in your mortgage, you can contact them and they can educate you on your rights and responsibilities. They do also identify foreclosure fraud and other deceptive practices. So they will take complaints from homeowners if there's a company that is doing things they are not supposed to be doing. They can connect homeowners to available resources. So if you are having trouble with your mortgage, you don't know what to do, you don't know where to go, you can contact the Office of Foreclosure Prevention and they can try and get you pointed in the right direction. And the last thing they can do is serve as a liaison between homeowners and lenders. Sometimes there are problems that can be solved just by getting lines of communication open, helping people get information to one another, and that is a service that the Office of Foreclosure Prevention provides. It's all sorts of things as, again, try and keep people from ending up in foreclosure. Third program is the Office of the Common Interest Community Ombudsperson. So common interest communities, and I know this is a thing that not everybody has a lot of experience with. This is a community with an HOA or a condo association. It's not a voluntary civic association. If you have a civic association and they charge you like $40 a year to do the snow plowing, that's not this. This is where you have an HOA, you have common areas that they manage. Generally, you're paying something every month. And the important thing with the common interest community is that there's going to be something in your deed about it. And then there's going to be governing documents and the HOA is going to have bylaws. And so there's a level of formality that if you have that, it's probably a common interest community. Again, this is not just the voluntary civic associations. But again, if you're not sure, call us. The worst thing you can do is be wrong, and that's not such a big deal. Now, the common interest community ombudsperson has a few separate duties. First and foremost, educate homeowners and HOAs on their rights and responsibilities. Second, they investigate allegations of improper behavior by HOAs. The classic example of this is that there is money missing out of the HOA's account and the treasurer suddenly is driving a nice new expensive car. That's not the only sort of improper behavior that can happen, but that's the one everybody thinks of. The third thing that the Common Interest Community Ombudsperson assists with is helping HOAs and homeowners in resolving disputes. And this is a voluntary process. So both sides have to agree, but if they do, the Common Interest Community Ombudsperson can help try and resolve disputes around anything from getting documents or records from the HOA, disputes about community rules and how they're being enforced. And it runs the gamut. But the limitation there is it's a voluntary process and it only works if both sides are willing to talk. Now, one thing to know about the Common Interest Community Ombudsperson, there's a process that you have to go through before you can seek assistance. And this process is required by statute. And all of this is explained on the office's website. But to make a long story short, the first thing you have to do is go through what's called internal dispute resolution and try and resolve the problem directly with the HOA. And then if that doesn't work, you can file the complaint with the ombudsperson. And this is a statutorily required process. We don't have any ability to waive it just because you don't think it would help if you did reach out to the HOA. So that's something to keep in mind, but all that information is on the website. The Office of the Manufactured Housing Ombudsperson, which, if you remember from the beginning, that's me. We cover manufactured homes. Manufactured homes used to be called mobile homes, but technically since the 70s, they're called manufactured homes. And we deal with manufactured homes in leased land manufactured home communities. Now, what that means is that the tenant owns the home. So they own the physical structure, but they rent the land on which the home is sitting. So you own the home, you rent the land. That's the universe we're in. If you rent the home and the land, that's different. So two things that people sometimes think are covered that aren't. One is modular homes. These are homes that are built in a factory but assembled on site. But they're not the same as a manufactured home, which is moved in one or two whole sections with axles on wheels. The other thing that's not covered are camper trailers, although there are a few exceptions there because of a change to the law last year. In the Office of the Manufactured Housing Ombudsperson, we have three duties. First is educating homeowners and community owners on their rights and responsibilities. We do that through doing formal presentations, and also, people just call, people send emails with questions all the time, and we do our best to answer them. The second thing is assisting homeowners and community owners in resolving disputes, and that's much like what the Common Interest Community Ombudsperson does. When you just have both sides and something has gone wrong in the relationship, and we try and get it sorted out. And then lastly, we investigate complaints and we refer matters to the appropriate enforcement unit or agencies if we find that there's been a violation of the law. Usually those would go to the Consumer Protection Unit, but not always. So one note on ombudspersons. The purpose of ombudspersons is to help parties resolve a dispute. We can't force people to do things. I routinely get asked, and I know the Common Interest Community Ombudsperson routinely gets asked to make someone do the right thing, and that's not something we can do. If you need to force someone to do something, you have to go to court. Courts can make people do things. We can only encourage people to do things. So that is an important limitation on what we can do as ombudspersons. So if you think you need our help on something, the help from the Consumer Mediation Unit, and this isn't just on the housing matters, this is if you have a consumer complaint, just contact us. If you're not sure, contact us. We never get mad that somebody asks for our help. If you're asking about something we can't help with, we'll try and get you pointed in the right direction. We try and make sure nobody leaves empty-handed. So when in doubt, just don't hesitate, send an email, give us a call. The worst thing we can do is tell you that we can't help you. And then you've lost a little bit of time, but at the very least, hopefully we can get you pointed in the right direction. Now, there are a few things we cannot do. We cannot provide legal advice. Even if you say it's just a hypothetical, or it's not really advice, or if you promise not to tell anyone, or, well, what would you do if it was you? I can assure you, I have heard them all. We can't do it. We cannot give you legal advice. Similarly, we cannot represent you in court. If you need to go to court to do something, you need to get an attorney. It's not something the DOJ can do for you. And lastly, and I know this one frustrates a lot of people, we cannot recommend private attorneys. The DOJ can't be recommending one law firm over another. For people who qualify, we do routinely make referrals to legal aid, but when it comes to private attorneys, unfortunately, we cannot make recommendations. And this is the slide that I, to be honest, forgot was in here, but this bears saying again, it never hurts to ask. If you think maybe we can help, call us, send us an email, and the worst thing that we'll do is we'll say no. We would much rather you reach out for something we can't help with than not reach out for something we could have helped with. And it's easy for me to say that because I'm not the one who answers the phone. I kid, but I'm also very serious. If you're not sure, reach out. Please do. It's literally what we're here for. Now, on that, as far as how to reach us, here is our contact information. The email consumer.protection@delaware.gov is an excellent way to reach us, also by phone. So the information's here, and I would hope that can certainly be posted. And of course, you can always just go to Google or your favorite search engine and type in Delaware Department of Justice Consumer Mediation Unit, and that'll get you right to us.
Thank you so much, Brian, for that presentation. Now, we have 3 counties in Delaware. The information you provided was to the Newcastle location. If I have a question that is applicable to Kent County or Sussex County, would I call the same information?
Thank you. That's an excellent question. Yes, everything goes through that address, that phone number, that email, and we do have staff in all 3 counties, but we have everything come into one spot and then it gets divided out.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
That will conclude today's presentation. As I noted at the outset, this video is one in a series. Check back with us next week for more helpful information. And in the meantime, if you need any additional information following today's presentation, or if you think you have been a victim of consumer fraud, you can find our website at attorneygeneral.delaware.gov/fraud/CPU. Thanks again.